enzymes are cellular proteins that are insoluble fractions. So when you centrifuge this, generally speaking, you find most of the enzymes that you're interested in, including that are in influence too. They're in these so-called soluble fractions, or we call supernatant. But nowadays, there are more and more people, because enough studies have already been done with all these enzymes that we can find in this, people start turning their attention into the insoluble degrees. These insoluble also have protein, and these usually are the protein called membrane protein. So they got pulled down into the degrees with a large chunk of membrane. So these proteins will be extracted by other methods such as deterging. Something we're not going to talk about here, but in the future, if any of you end up studying membrane protein, you'll learn a little bit more about that. But for the purpose to illustrate the basic step of protein purification, we can use the soluble enzyme as an example. So the idea is you will get the cycle supernatant and assay what enzyme may be in there. And in this case, you will find the iron polymerase activity to be in the supernatant, but not in the degree. So the degree would have all kinds of degrees. So they would have a mitochondria, they would have a large chunk of chromosome DNA, and they also have the membrane protein as well. So this step, it would simply just separate insoluble or soluble insoluble. But the supernatant would have many different types of proteins. In the very early days of biochemistry, when there's not enough recombinant technology available, one way to further separate these proteins is use, so we call this a centrifugation. The bottom, this one we call density ultracentrifugation. What does this experiment really entails is that you make up a solution that has some sort of media, like sucrose. So these molecules, when you put this on a very high centrifugation force, you'll create a uneven density in these tubes. So these uneven densities will cause all the mixture of the protein, which will have different mass, to what we call sediment at different layers, depending on their mass. For example, the heavier the molecule, they will equilibrate or sediment at the bottom part of the tube or away from it. So as you see from the increase of higher. So this is actually for historical reasons we used it here. As far as I know, probably most people who do biochemistry nowadays don't do this anymore. So we put it here because this has been very important in the past. Soon I'll explain to you why other techniques have started replacing this method. This method is still very powerful and very accurate, but it is very intensive equipment. It's very expensive, and it's also difficult. It's hard to maintain this high force centrifugation. So for that matter, there's a chapter, there's a portion in the textbook have all this complex equations. Don't bother it. You're not required to memorize or even understand it. As long as you understand, there's something called zonal centrifugation that has historically been used to purify protein. That's sufficient. Because I almost can say that will be very interesting will be using this method to purify protein. So this is the general idea. The general idea is you create a density gradient, and the different kinds of protein will be equilibrated because they're different sizes, so that they have different buoyancy. So they will sediment at different gradient point of the sucrose. So you can pretty much actually open up the tube, each layer, and do fractionate it. So by doing this, you can separate protein according to their rock size. But when you do this experiment, you introduce a lot of media like sucrose, right? So you don't want the sucrose to interfere with your enzyme assay or your subsequent characterization. So one very frequently used method to get rid of solvent molecule or media that are used to purify protein is using a technique called biolysis. So this is actually very frequently used nowadays. So it's good to know. It turns out this is physically or chemically it's not that complicated. It's just you have a very specially made membrane where it has a certain molecular weight cutoff. So, for example, any molecule less than, let's say, 1,000 Dalton can go through, or 3,000, 5,000 Dalton. Most of the protein you work on will be 10 kilodalton or bigger. So when you imagine that you take a fraction of your protein, there's a lot of sucrose in there. You don't want that to interfere with the subsequent antacid or whatever you want to do. You just stick that fraction into this membrane and put a lot of water around it. So what happens is the protein will be maintained inside the tube because they are larger than the full size of the membrane. And the sucrose molecule and the other molecule like ions you don't like to have them stay, the protein will be diffused. So if you exchange phosphor 2 times, the sucrose molecule will be dialyzed away. So this is a very common way to exchange phosphor media of the protein, so that you can put protein into a particular media or phosphor, especially if the phosphor that is biologically relevant.
That will get rid of all the sucrose.
It depends on the ratio of the volume of urine, and you can calculate like how much volume is here, how big volume is here, and how many times you do it. Of course, you will never get it. Well, it's not like you have to approach the infinity, but that process you can approach infinity, you cannot arrive to infinity. It's the same thing. Okay. So you can do that, which you almost can get rid of if you do enough time. Okay. I don't want to get into the philosophical logic here, but that is, you can do that one. I'll do that. Anyway, so we're basically, I'm just pretending that we all are doing experiment. We bust the cell, we did quantum centrifugation, we got a superintendent, we did that zonal centrifugation, even though we don't do that in stable. So now we take a fraction of that. I don't want the sucrose, I give it the sucrose already. So now I'm ready to take this protein to do the next step. The very next step usually is when you do this zonal purification, you don't really get very clean preparation because you would, no matter how accurately you can cut your band, every fraction you do, you still get like a range of molecules that come out of that zone. So you need a method more accurate or higher resolution. This is the next method is called size diffusion or gel filtration. And it is again based on the molecular size of the protein, but it's not based on the physical force of centrifugation. It's based on this phenomena of we refer to size diffusion because you would make up a matrix of a column shown here. So inside this column, it made up what we call bead. This bead would have little hole in there. So when you have a mixture of molecule proteins, in this case, of different size, let's say smaller protein, medium-sized protein, and larger-sized protein, in power. When these proteins travel through this media, these curvature serve as a dragging or trapping force. So the smaller the protein, the more likely to get trapped. So they will have a longer residence time to be trapped in there, and they will of course exchange out again, trap again, exchange out again. So the smaller the protein, the more likely to be trapped. And then the larger the protein, they don't get trapped, they travel right through. So this is actually why we call size exclusion purification or gel filtration. It is more, and this subsequent it's a step that nowadays people can purify protein according to their size very effectively. And oftentimes people even skip this step and go straight to here. This is, and for a number of reasons, so I'll explain to you. Another reason we can skip this is we have some other technology available, so we will cover that a little bit later. So even when you do this, you find out they're not 100% separate. Sometimes protein of similar size, but still different kind of protein still come out at the same time in the column. So clearly, while this can separate protein by size, But there are many, many proteins very similar in size that by opting different kinds of protein can come out of it as a bunch. So you need another way to separate protein. The next method is based on the protein's charge. You remember we talked about protein made of amino acids, and my amino acids there are certain amino acids that can carry charge on the physiological pH, right? So we have positive charged amino acids such as lysine, arginine, and sometimes cysteine. We also have negative charged residues like aspartic acid and glutamate. So depending on the total number of these residues on a particular protein, a protein can be overall either positive charged or negative charged. So if you have a positive charged protein, you run through a bead which is largely negative charged, we can make a chemical material like we call either carboxylate or sulfonate. So these kind of packing material will have overall negative charge on it. So if you have a protein that's positive charge, they will bind to this. Vice versa. If you have negative charged proteins, they can bind a packing material that has chemical group that has positive charge. So this is using ion, basically referring to ion exchange. This method can be a very powerful method to purify proteins using the characteristic of their charge. Okay, I have just like a random question. So you a protein that binds DNA, let's say transcription factor. What do you think that protein will be either overall positive charge or negative charge? Why is that? That's good. So therefore, which of these residues we use to purify a DNA binding protein? Either this one or that one. Right on the left. So this should be wrong because the protein is positive charge in the context. So which residue you use to purify DNA? Let's say I want to purify DNA. Obviously, you know the answer should be this one. So this kind of question should be something that you're expecting from me. There is sort of a combined understanding of amino acids and also the basic laboratory technique you'll be seeing. Yes?
So is the one that gets stuck to the bead and the one that flows through the isolate?
Yes, that's true. Okay, that was a very good point. Usually, if you want to purify something, the thing you want to purify should bind to the column, and then that's the one can effectively separate from those are not bound. And the other reason the one that binds to the column, there will be a lot of different kinds of bind to the column. So you want to say, how do you get rid of it? Well, one way to get how do you recover it? Let's just say you find a mixture of protein, and then some of the positive charge this protein stick to this column, right? So all the other negative charge and neutral protein is gone. But you might say, gee, how do you get rid of recover your protein? Normally you put a lot of salt. So if you put a lot of salt, those salts will competing for this ion group, and then those proteins will fall off. But then you might say, gee, how do you know it's only one kind of protein that sticks to the column? Because there will be other proteins also bound to this negative charge. So you may have 5 or 6 positive charge proteins. Well, the interesting is if you have different kinds of protein bound to this, you can still separate them by using different amounts of sodium chloride to wash them off. So if a protein has a large amount of positive charge on that protein, then they stick to this negative charge region much stronger. Then if you have a protein that has less positive charge, they'll stick weaker. So you would use less amount of sodium chloride to dilute protein that binds less strongly. So again, ionic exchange is not just one down, one or not. It actually you can use a so-called creative salt to use the protein. Then by doing that, you can wash off proteins that have different amount of charge. They stick to the column with different strength. And the same is true with the negative charge protein. So ionic exchange is a very powerful technique to purify protein for that matter, because you can run a gradient and wash off the bound protein according to their property. You can see each of the peaks, they correspond to different kinds of protein. Sometimes, even with that, the protein is not super clean. You would have a protein that have similar size, come out of your filtration, but run the same way. And then you also have protein that even have a similar charge. So even you run that gradient, they come out either overlappingly or very closely. So you run into a situation where the protein you're interested in cannot be singly purified by all the techniques we discussed at this point. So you need one additional or a few additional steps to purify. One very powerful technique is called affinity purification. What does this really mean? The protein you're purifying has a very special binding activity. For example, if you're purifying a protein that binds sugar, glucose, and then you can basically stick the sugar on the bead. In this case, because the sugar binding is so uncommon, the protein size is not a very unique property. The protein charge is somewhat unique, but it's hard to be unique to a single protein. But sugar binding can be so uncommon. So this will be a very powerful way to separate protein of your interest, purely based on the binding ability of the protein of your study that you stick the sugar on it. So this idea turns out to be one of the highly selective methods to purify protein. And then you can say, well, the downside of this technology is it's not general, right? Because if you purify sugar binding, you use the sugar bead. But what if I have protein that don't, at least before I purify it, I don't have a way to create a unique affinity binding mode for it. And this can be solved by two methods. One is, later we'll explain to you, you can raise antibody against the protein you study. So this antibody will bind very specifically to the protein of interest. This is your protein. Then you can immobilize the antibody on the bead, much like we put the sugar on. So this is called antibody affinity purification. So this is very general, and but it has some challenges because it requires you to purify, first raise a specific antibody, and also to get a large amount of antibody is actually not cheap. So another method mentioned in the textbook, which I won't go into the details for the time's sake, is then you can use recombinant engineering technology to combine, express your protein with a domain that's known to bind sugar. For example, I know some sugar binding protein can bind sugar, so I can purify it. But my protein don't have any affinity. So what you can do is you can covalently express the fusion protein between the sugar binding protein and the protein you're interested in. So this including like a GFT, glutathione transferase protein that binds GFT using a sugar or multiple binding protein. Many proteins that bind special ligand can be used to fuse with the protein of your interest in. Then you can purify the protein fused in your protein through this method. And the link usually is enzymatic cleavable. So once you get the purified protein, you just cut between the link and separate. So, for example, there's a mix. So you take the protein fused with your protein and make a big mixture. So the protein will stick to the beads, right? So all the junk is being washed off. But when you wash a few times, and then you take an enzyme, you cut only the link. So the fusion protein stays on the beads, the protein you're interested in will fall off. So that's another way to use the affinity purification through fusion. And this can be even expanded beyond just a ligand binding. You can, so sometimes there are certain metals that bind a strain of amino acid. For example, there's a metal called nickel. It binds 6 histidine contiguously together. So that also has been used very commonly for purified protein. So the idea is very similar here. You take a bead loaded with nickel ion, then you express your protein. You put the histidine, 6 histidine either at the N-terminal or C-terminal of the protein, and then that protein will bind to the histidine. a nickel-loaded bead through that histine tag. So that's another way to do the image interpretation. Questions?
Yes, it's regarding to the antibody affinity chromatography.
Yeah.
I thought the antibody they will link permanently with the with the target protein.
Yeah.
Is it like when the antibody binds what is his name? When antibody binds the protein, is there a possibility that they can form a covalent bond and they will stick together? Like it will not come off.
Most, I don't know what it is, but generally speaking, antibodies don't bind the antigen through covalent interaction.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's a non-covalent interaction. So, another question on the same point?
Yeah, on the antibody.
Yeah.
You need to know the protein's tertiary structure to create an antibody for it.
You don't need to know. This is the beauty about it. You actually, let's say, you get a trace amount of that protein. Later we'll talk about it. You inject in the rabbit, and you can from the serum, you can isolate antibody that binds to your protein, and then you can find that cell. You do something called hybridoma, then you can just create a cancer cell that produces huge amount of antibody, and that's how you can create a column like this. And by the way, antibody does not bind to their antigen through covalent interaction, not as far as I know. So this is a very commonly used nowadays. The one I just mentioned to you, either antibody affinity purification or the fusion to a well-known, like either sugar binding protein or a glucoside binding protein, and so on and so forth. The other one is so-called HISTAG, nickel affinity. But this is because of these new technology become so easily performed. That's why the zonal simplification started to become obsolete and out of date. Now, what we need to do is the protein. I'm still talking about the protein in the solution that come out of different columns that we have done. We buffed it over with one gone through centrifugation. We did gel filtration. Now we do ionic exchange. And every time you get a so-called fraction of this column. So how can you see the protein? I mean, you need there's a way, if you can have a way to see them in a certain way, that would be one huge monitoring. Because you can keep purifying these, but you have to know whether your purification actually works or not. So this is involving an assay that commonly used in the laboratory. Maybe some of you already done it if you ever work in the research lab. But I'm not sure whether you have thought about the actual details. So this is a so-called SDS page gel, polyacromide gel electrophoresis. I already mentioned about SDS. This is the description molecule that can penetrate and unfold the protein through its hydrophobic tail. And it also has this negative charge, so it can unfold the whole protein. So you can think of any protein mixture with all kinds of size. They'll be coated by this SDS molecule in an unfolded, extended conformation. And this negative charge really helps a lot. You can put it into a matrix, which I'll explain to you what a matrix is. And then the molecule will travel based on the negative charge on this SDS that coated around this protein. And then they will travel according to their size. So the smaller protein, they travel fast, the bigger, they travel slower. So this is actually, there are many more detailed theory behind it, which we won't go into, but as long as you understand the general idea, this is probably sufficient for you to use this method to monitor your purification. So a little bit to say about it, when you do the SDS page, for those who work in the lab before, with this technique, you need to unfold the protein using the SDS, which by itself, but you also know that whenever we denature protein entirely, we also have to be concerned that some protein may have disulfide that cannot be denatured by simply detergent or urea or guanidine hydrochloride. So those need to be reduced by reducing the beta-metacrylacetamide. So we mentioned that before. So the line is you will load your sample after the SDS treatment with beta-ethanol, and there is a matrix that made of something called acromide, and then the molecule will travel through this in this electrical force, and then according to the size, in this case, the smaller guy travel fast because this is not through size exclusion. This is purely based on the mass target ratio. So from the from this electrical force, the smaller peptide or protein will travel ahead of the medium one, and the heavy protein will come in the last. The matrix here is what's mentioned a little bit because it is made of something called acromide, and acromide has a structure like this. So you use a radical initiate, so then these double bonds will be linked together through a chain reaction. But once in a while, you want your acromide to also have a branch linking together. That's why you use this bis acromide. So that's how they can connect together. So this is virtually what the matrix you're making. And one thing that you need to know is, depending on the kind of protein you're interested in, you have to decide what we call percentage. For example, if you want to separate mostly very large molecules, then you want your acromide to be loose. So in this case, you use so-called lower percentage. But if you are interested in resolving a much smaller molecule, then you want your acromide matrix to be very dense. So in this case, you use higher percentage of acromide. I think that for those of you who work in the lab, probably already know this, but that's the reason why you can you have to use different type of ratio or percentage when you make up the gel. And then that definitely has a lot of empirical determination. There's no need for you to know that. Like when you go to the lab, your more experienced PI or writer can tell you, oh yeah, for this molecular weight, you should use this percentage. But you do need to know for higher, for a larger molecule, you use low percentage acromide. For small protein, you use high percentage acromide. So the general idea you need to appreciate that. And because of that, so this is how you can end up run your protein on a acromide gel, and then you use a dye called chromatic glue. This dye will bind protein non-specifically. So virtually, a protein travels through this side is the so-called molecular marker, which means a mixture of all kinds of protein of known protein molecular weight. So this is the protein that let's just say this is a fraction of the protein come out of either gel filtration or affinity column or ion exchange or whatever that may be. Different fraction, you can actually check in where your protein come out. You can always see the peak come out here. So you can see where your protein, you can also see how pure they are. Sometimes when you can purify different kinds of protein, or let's say in this case you have different proteins, you know their size, you can plot their mobility against the molecular mass, and you get actually a pretty good linear relationship. So this is very well established. So in the laboratory, the SDS page gel is, I would say, even though this is a very old technique, but nowadays it's one of the most frequently used methods to monitor the protein purification. Okay, so that pretty much the one that I just explained to you, sonicate the cell. We can skip the zonal simplification. Basically, sonication the cell, supernatant purification separate from the degree, and then you take the supernatant, you go through gel filtration, ionic exchange, affinity purification. Those are the three. These are representing the most predominant technique nowadays used in the biochemical laboratory to purify protein. The ultracentrifugation is nearly gone, never been used before. But occasionally, you will run into a situation you really need to purify protein with a super high purity. You tried all the technique I told you, you still could not get a single band And then you use a method that's not very often used, but still nowadays being used, called isoelectric focusing. What does this mean is, for any protein, I told you that they have the general charge. So you use that charge as a basis to purify it by so-called ionic exchange. But ionic exchange is still a roughly way to separate protein based on the binding to a ion biond. But for every protein, there's a pH point by which, if you adjust the pH of the buffer, the protein will become completely neutral. There's no positive negative charge net on the protein. So this pH point, the pH at which a protein has a negative charge, total charge, is called isoelectric point. All right, so for basic protein, what do you think is isoelectric point would be? Above 7 or below 7? For basic protein, you think its PI is going to be above 7 or below 7?
Above 7.
What?
Above 7.
Above 7, yes. So go home and think about why that is the case. But anyway, just once in a while, just reading the question like this so you can kind of think about your. So virtually, if you have a mixture protein, they are basic or acidic or whatever it may be. So they all have different pH points to which they'll become neutral. So this is done in a tube of gel. This tube gel is specially made, so every region of this gel has a very different pH. So the protein you can throw into anywhere you want. When the protein is in a region where the pH that pH is either positive or negative charge, it will travel in the electric field. It will travel towards the direction until it hits a pH, and then the pH, the charge becomes 0, and then the protein will not move because they don't have overall charge anymore. So by doing this, you can actually see the protein start to run around in this gel everywhere they want, and then they all start to focus at a certain point. That is the point at which that protein has a net charge of 0. So they become stationary. So that's why this method is very sensitive. That's why it's called focusing. So it's isolated for focusing and make protein bond condense in a very narrow range according to its pH. So this is one way to purify protein under very special circumstances. When you, I'll explain to you why. This is especially when you have a protein that's just a the only difference is a protein that has been phosphorylated. So it's everything is the same, the protein. The only slight difference is actually added one phosphate group on it. So mass change is so small, it's so difficult to separate them. The charge change is also very small. It's difficult to separate them sometimes by ion exchange. So in that case, this one charge can cause protein shifting the nucleus on the isoelectric focus. So this brings us to the final point. When you needed to purify a lot of protein, and you, as I said, we talk about we can purify protein based on its solubility, which I kind of skipped that part because the salt outside in part is probably and also a very old-fashioned way to do it. Nowadays we rarely doing it, but you can either purify by its side, so we can try to talk about it. You also can purify by the charge. And it's purified by its ability to bind it, we call affinity. So those are the fundamental methods. And then this charge is expanded into the isoelectric process. So if you need to purify a lot of proteins simultaneously by electrophoresis, oftentimes simply using SDS is not enough because, as you might imagine, there will be a lot of protein in the mixture that have similar mobility under the SDS condition. But before you dump into SDS, the protein could also be separated by isoelectric focusing. But again, that may by itself insufficient because there may be some protein have a very similar PI. However, there's a way to do this in a so-called two-dimensional way. You take your mixture protein, you dump it into this tube gel, you you run IEF, isoelectric focusing, so the protein will be separate based on the isoelectric point. But each band will still have a mixture. These guys will be slightly, even though they have the same isoelectric point, but they have slightly different mass. Then after that, you mix them with SDS, you run in this direction around the SDS. Now then you can separate. This two-dimensional method is a very powerful way to assay a mixture of a tissue that with 100 proteins. And it's frequently used in so-called proteomic analysis, where if you have a sample, I already explained this to you. So many times, if you want to know among 100 proteins in a particular cell, what protein has changed, this is the way to go about it. For example, like I mentioned to you earlier, you can actually see a protein, see it moving in hundreds of cells according by just running this method. And sometimes this protein could be critically important for diagnostic disease, as I told you. Like nowadays, one of the major research interests is finding so-called biomarkers for certain disease. Oftentimes, this biomarker can be a protein or a phosphorylated protein or glycosylated protein in hundreds or even thousands of proteins in a cancer tissue. So to capture these type of subtle change in a very complex protein background, which in this case we call proteomic analysis, you often use this 2D electrophoresis. Like I said, we won't be able to tell you all the techniques used, but what we did today is just simulating a procedure that we are going from a crude cell assay to the point of a purified protein, or all the techniques that we may be using. And this just gives you a general idea of how chemical technique and tools evolve. And there are a lot of new technology that you may be using and we won't be able to cover today. Like you can have a method to measure protein we call multi-enzyme life cycling. So, but these will be your future study. For this particular part of the textbook, there are lots of information. So I specifically told you you don't need to work on the equation for ultracentrifugation. So you need to stay with the example we talked about in the lecture in terms of the material that you need to understand. Okay, so next lecture we'll move on to talk about other techniques.
Sushi.